Hey guys, welcome back to Just Fixing Garage. I'm Justin, this is Kevin, and today we're working on a 2016 Chrysler Town and Country. The current job we have is doing the rear rotors and pads. My mom took this to Firestone. They wanted, I don't know, $400 or $500 to do the rear rotors and pads, and obviously I'm not gonna let my mom pay that, so we're gonna get that done today. They also are gonna do a brake fluid flush, so we're gonna likely do that as well. So if you're interested in knowing how to do your rear rotors and pads on a Chrysler Town and Country, and to note, there are two different versions. There's apparently a two piston front or a one piston front, and depending on what you have, depends on the back rotors. So if you're not sure what back rotors to get, you need to look at your front caliper and see if there's two cylinders or one. So anyway, we're gonna get started and follow along. Hi guys, so as you saw, we just put the car up in the air. If you're home, you're going to need to put a jack under it. Then we went through and we had taken the wheel off. If you look at our rotors, they've got what you can tell is not just surface rust anymore, it's actually like starting to like delaminate. It's giving my mom a squishy pedal and some noises. So we're going to be doing that. So, get your car up in the air, go through and take off your 5 lug nuts. I didn't see, Kevin, what size did you have on that impact? Obviously we use an impact. I don't know if you use a 5-way or not. Oh, it's down there. Oh, he's getting it. We got one of our shop dogs in here today. So 19 millimeters is what we use to get these off. So anyway guys, follow along. We're going to move on to this. And that next step is going to be removing the caliper from the bracket. Some people go straight for the bracket itself, but we're going to go through and take these bolts out first. And you're going to want to take note, the parking brake is connected to this, so be sure you don't have your parking brake on when you're trying to do this, or you're really going to have a lot of problems. So we're going to start by taking this off, what size is that?
1/2 inch.
1/2 inch? It's such a weird thing. It fits it good though? Does it actually fit it? Let's see. Okay, so yeah, is it on there good?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take off the 2 1/2 inch bolts on the caliper. Obviously, we're on this side, so you're going the correct direction.
Yeah, I know. I got to tap it out.
Yep, so sometimes they're a little tighter than they should be. We'll be make sure we follow torque specs when we put it back on. Sometimes you can get away with that, some cars you can't. There we go, nice and squeaky. So, and one thing to note is that this didn't happen to him, but there's times you'll try to loosen this bolt here, and this part will spin with it. So if you see that happening and you feel like you've been turning this bolt forever, put a pair of vice grips or pliers on here to keep this from spinning, because if you look, this can all spin together. So he's gonna go ahead and get that going. And I'm just trying to keep filming so I can kind of commentate. We're doing the same thing on the bottom. You didn't have a spinning issue?
Nope.
All right. So, let's get the bottom bolt. I'm just going to take this one out. You're going to want to save that, put it to the side. You getting stuck on you? Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to finish taking that off, and then we'll check what size the caliper bracket is. And we'll show you a little trick for trying to get these off easier. So both bolts are out of this now. You can see. Sometimes you'll be able to slide this off easy. Other times you can't, but usually for the back it's pretty good. This has enough stuff on it where we can probably just set it right up top and it's not going to go anywhere for now. Generally I would say you want to use some type of hanger to hang this off the side, and I'll look for a better spot to put it. I'm going to go ahead and take off our brake pads here. They are pretty aged, and you want to take a look at how the hardware is, so you make sure you do the hardware the same way. If you look, it has the lip there and the pads are on the inside. So we're going to take that off. Yeah, I got to get a pair of a flathead or something to get that off of there, and then we're going to work on our caliper bracket. All right guys, so I took out all the hardware around here. Kevin is working on getting to these other back 2 bolts, so we'll see there's one here, one up there. What size did you say it was?
I believe that it is a 3/4. Let's see.
It's weird that it actually is working out that way. It's a little loose.
A little bit, but the other one was too tight.
Well, what you're only looking at, let's see how loose that feels. Yeah, that's too loose.
Too loose.
Try a 17 or something. Try to set you guys up so you can actually see everything. And this not really be in your way. None of our pins are seized. I'm going to set this there. What you got?
There's a 17. And it is too small.
Must be an 18. Where's all the impact ones I got?
Oh, they're over here on the table. I'm trying to use my set, but it's a damn mess. Somebody.
Yeah, I know. What a dick. 17 feel better?
It's the 18, but it's a little loose.
That's probably a 17.
No, the 17 was the one that was too tight.
Oh. What a weird size.
I don't know.
Wonder what it actually fits perfectly. I don't know. Alright guys, so if you're only doing your pads, you don't have to take off the caliper bracket. But in our case, we're doing rotors, so we got to do both.
Can't get around that.
Cannot.
What's that little thing, Justin?
I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna keep it how it sets out in there like that, so remember how it goes back in there, alright?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
We'll go look at the other side and see. Got my mom into good rotors.
Drill the slotted?
Gold.
Oh. They black?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. Well, I wish they drilled and slotted.
All right, guys, we got our caliper bracket off. Kevin used, we couldn't find a perfect good fitting size, but
18.
an 18 fitted okay. So we got that off. So that's what keeps our rotor on. If you're only doing your brake pads, you don't have to do this. But in our case, we've got some rotor issues, so we're gonna get this off. That's the only thing holding it on. If you look around here, on some cars, you'll see screws or something holding them on. In this case, there isn't any of that. So this should just be able to come off. We may have to give it a good smacking.
Ours. Get out of there.
May have to give it a good smacking, but it should be able to come off. And Kevin, we'll just use the multi-purpose wrench, or adjustable wrench. Whoop! Here, hold that caliper up, will you? All right. Might have to get the air hammer out.
Just get something a little more ignorant than that.
Yeah, I guess we use the air hammer. You hold that. We'll get Big Nasty out. Big Nasty hasn't been out yet.
Iris, baby. Yeah, I see no can on here.
All right, guys, so the rotors can get stuck on there pretty well. A good hammer from the back usually will take care of it. And then as you're doing it for this, you just want to spin it as you're hammering it. Helps work it off. And then to make sure you get a good seat, you want to go through and get all this surface rust off so that you don't have anything causing the rotor to wobble. Because if there's a lot of buildup of rust, the rotor won't seat all the way, and when you're hitting the brakes, it'll actually cause it to wobble. Seen that on a car that came in, one of Matt's, that he got from the dealership, where the dealership had done new rotors and pads.
Wow.
And he started getting this weird creaking noise. We put the car up in the air and we could actually see the rotor wobbling as he was braking.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
crazy, yeah. This is why you need to clean this stuff. You don't gotta make it look brand new, but you shouldn't have like a fixed scale built up. And even this wasn't that bad. It's just, if you don't do it, you will regret it.
I seen Mac though, just the other day.
That's the degreaser. Where'd our brake need to go?
Brake cleaner, you used it earlier.
Let's see. All right, guys, so hopefully you can get a good view. Let's adjust you up a bit. So So I'm going to use some aluminum anti-seize to put underneath the rotor. This is really optional. I've been doing this more often because a lot of people do it, and if this is also my mom's car, and if it needs anything later on, I'm going to be the one to do it. So this is just something to hopefully in the future make it easier to get through. So this stuff's a mess. Spray it on there nice and even the best you can. Keep it from rusting, which it's slowly working its way through anyway. This is also optional, Kevin. I don't want you to think that because we didn't put it on your car, it's a bad thing.
We did put it on mine.
We did, because it's not required by any means. Some people don't do it, some people do.
Well, that stops them from seizing on there, right?
It'll help the rotors not get stuck.
It's just like it was stock.
Yep.
They still ain't returned my money for the murders.
Jesus, really? Alright guys, so we cleaned the hub, got the anti-seize on there. I'm going to put the new rotor on. We've got the Duralast Golds. One, because Mama gets the best, obviously. And they're almost the same price as the regular. If you have a commercial account anyway, the price of the gold is like $2 more than the regular. It almost doesn't make sense not to get the gold. I'm just going to do a lug nut to hold that on now. Because now what we need to do is we need to take a look at our caliper bracket, which we took off. So we're going to look at our caliper bracket. You're going to see that there's some resting spots here and resting spots here. We need to clean that out completely to make sure that the new hardware will sit in there flush. If there's a rust build up in here, it'll make the hardware sit higher, which will then pinch the pads and cause them to seize. We're also going to need to pull out our slide pins. Ours are pretty free, they're not seized, but if yours are seized, you need to get them out, spray inside of the hole to clean it out. But we're going to clean this off and put some fresh grease on there. I've been using this kind of grease. It is a ceramic synthetic kind of grease. It works pretty well. So we're going to do that. And what I've been using lately is, where's that wire brush at? I bought this specific brake wire brush. It works well enough to get into these crevices, so I'll go through and just clean that up and use brake cleaner. You should almost see fresh metal under it. And if you don't do this, I'm telling you, that's the difference between a brake service and a pad slap, okay? You will regret it because you'll be doing this again very shortly. So, I don't know if these have ever been done before.
I like that black rotor. Looks nice on that.
Cool, right?
I like it a lot.
And the color will come off of where it hits.
But not in the center.
Right.
Well, it'll look like metal.
Right.
Yeah, with a paint there. That's how the car breaks.
All right, you go ahead and do your thing. I'll let you finish it.
Got some grease for this guy?
Yep, it's on the table right there. So again, you're going to want to wipe those off. If it feels like it's tight in there, you may want to get like some type of pipe wire brush and go inside the actual caliper bracket. You need these to slide freely. It's so important. And you'll see he's putting grease on there, but he's not globbing it on like a crap ton. You know, like that. What he's got on there is just about good enough. You just need enough for it to slide. If you pack it too much, you'll like almost like hydro lock it, and there'll be air trapped and it can't get around the grease, and then it causes them to get locked up as well. When you saw it kind of clicked on there, you want the rubber to click back around there, and look how smooth that moves. Like that's how it should be, nice and smooth. You twist it around, you get the grease around, and that's good. Feel good?
Yep, and same thing for the top.
Yep, just remember, you just gotta pop it off with a rubber. And if those are torn, you can find those at the hardware store. You're always gonna wanna replace that stuff. If you don't do that, the grease washes away really quickly, and once these seize, it'll cause the pad not to release after it's hit.
Got a pick?
Maybe. I mean, I just had one earlier. There you go. See? Good. I know I had one. They're like the best things I ever bought.
The picks? I love them. We use them for all types of stuff. Gotta have a set of picks. A little rusty in there, so this one's a little tight.
Yeah, so if you look, this one's got a lot of rust on it, so what we'll have to do is actually kind of snug in there.
It's a little tight, yeah.
Yeah.
We've had to put these in vices before.
Yeah, we've had to put in vices.
And heat them up with map gas.
Yeah,
and
so
use the
you
air
can actually
hammer.
see, look at all that rust build up in there. We're gonna have to hose that one out. Because if we were to leave this alone and not do it, this would be seized in a few months. Yeah, there we go, look at that.
Yep, look at all the rust that's coming, just falling out of there.
Yep. So we'll wire wheel this some, or wire brush it. We'll go through the hole. Now what I've had to do on these sometimes, and you can already see I have a drill here, is If there's like some rust buildup we can't get out, I'll use the drill bit and just kind of ream it a tiny bit. Don't go crazy because you don't want it slapping around. I've tried the wire brushes and I need to get one that goes on a drill bit. But the drill bit option works pretty well. You don't go the same size, just use it to ream around.
You can just put a regular one on that. You can just stick it right in the drill. One of them ones they use to clean.
Yeah, I just need a metal one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need a
You
metal
should have told me. He had a whole bunch of them in there.
Oh, okay. I'll get it from him.
You could have. Where's that guy? This guy needs
We
to
gotta
be
clean it
cleaned
up.
up.
So, clean that up. We're only going to show you doing this side because there's no point in showing you both sides. So
It's the same thing.
And again, this is more of a brake service, not a brake flush. So if you're just looking for the easy way, you could have just pad slapped this, left these, let them seize up, but I can't do that.
It'll cost you more time and money later if you do that.
And plus this is my mom's van, so I can't rightfully do that. Okay. Now we're gonna try greasing it and putting it back in the hole. Now, if it still seems like it's really snug,
Take it out.
we'll ream it. We'll make sure that's clean and we'll ream it out a little bit, just to make sure everything's good to go. The last thing we want to do is have a problem with that. And this one has the rubber piece on there. You don't want to flip flop them either. There is a reason, I believe, for like one to have the rubber stopper and one not.
That is why I did one at a time as well, if you
Yeah.
noticed.
You like being the star in these videos most of the time?
Oh, I love it, man.
How's it feel?
Feels
Nice and smooth?
loose.
There we go. So now we got a nice smooth moving one. We know we got plenty of grease in there to help prevent rust buildup.
Make sure that boot is up at the top
Yep.
still,
Yep.
like it was when it started. Move it around, make sure it feels nice, not seized up. So ready to go back home.
All right, so we've already got our rotor on. We have not compressed the caliper yet. We have cleaned our caliper bracket where the hardware sits, as well as the actual ears. I mean, sorry, the actual pins and stuff. They're all moving good. That's great. As long as it can go in and out, that's great. So, you know, it doesn't have to be crazy, but it just needs to be able to move. So that's good. I like that. We're gonna bolt that on. I'll look up the torque specs. So follow along. We'll bolt that on. I'll note the torque specs, and then we're gonna show you how you're gonna compress this caliper. Now, keep in mind, this is a parking brake setup caliper where it spins as it goes in and out. So you cannot just use a regular C-clamp on this, or you're gonna be in deep trouble. So I'll show you that in a minute.
Really, I haven't got.
All right, guys, we're back. We're gonna put the caliper bracket on now. Kevin's using a torque wrench. We were told in the instructions we found online it's 74 foot-pounds for the rear caliper to caliper bracket, which feels pretty tight, I guess.
Yeah, that's tight.
Alrighty, hard to see, but he's just getting it on there, you know, when we get the click. And it's a real click. We're not faking the torque specs.
Not with this model.
Not with that, no. We actually have a snap-on torque wrench, courtesy of someone I do car work for that I don't charge anything, so they just want to give me some of their old tools, so I'll take it. Thing was like brand new in the box. All right, so we got a caliper bracket on. We're gonna prep the rest of our brakes and get our hardware on before I do the caliper. That's how I like to do it, so it's all ready. So let me grab the pads, Kevin, and we'll get that on.
What is this spring back?
What do we got? Everything's a mess.
What is this spring back here?
That's part of the parking brake stuff. Okay, so see if I can set this up, and we'll do our
This is not the
hardware.
special one.
What's that?
This is the one that'll break.
Correct, yeah. There's a blue box down there. Alright guys, so we've got all new hardware. You just know how it goes in there because it's only gonna fit one way. You always want the this part to be facing away from the rotor.
If not, it will scrape the
If not, it will scrape the rotor. You'll learn pretty quick.
I've done it before.
Yeah, some cars you can't even do it on. Some cars that'll let you make that mistake and then they'll laugh at you. All right, so we've got the new hardware on. We're gonna look at our new pads.
Hey, some of them have got a lot of
Views? Yeah, some have like 5,000, 6,000.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's pretty good.
All right,
dude.
so far, both the ones I pulled out have wear indicators on them. It looks like all 4 pads do. Now, depending on what car you're working on,
cool.
sometimes you only get it on 2, and then usually I say put it on the inside of the pad. But this one has both, so it shouldn't matter what pad we use where. So Kevin's gonna put a little bit of grease on there. You can either put it on there, I just put it on the ears sometimes, just to make it easier. A little bit of grease, don't get it on the pads. It's the same grease we used on the slide pins. With these, they're gonna be a little trickier to get in there.
I like these purple. I like the purple grease. That's nice.
All right guys, caliper compression time. So if you look inside of here, you're gonna see 2 keyways or 2 notches in there. That's usually a dead giveaway if there's any notching or grooving in the piston face, that it's going to need a special tool. So you can rent a tool, or you can just buy these off Amazon for 20 bucks. Honestly, they all do the same thing. You're gonna be looking for a piece here that's going to fit into the groove well. Let's see if that does.
Perfect.
So we got one that fits well. And Kevin, I'll have you take this and I'm gonna show, we're gonna put this in place. So in this case, I've got this tool. We're gonna need this backing plate. You're just gonna slide this on. And put it up in there. Now we're also gonna put the magnetic piece on here, whatever one fits the best.
Oh, it's magnetic.
Yep.
Oh, that's neat.
So I left one on there, but. So now we've got this. And what you do is I tend to put this inside the grooves, if I can get it.
And it turns clockwise?
Yeah, so then you use this to snug everything up. You're gonna be turning them like opposite directions. It's really tricky until you get it in there. So now that that's seated in there, is it seated in there? Oh, there.
Yeah, it goes.
Once you get it seated in there, you're gonna be like turning this the opposite direction so that you can snug it up. And as I hold this piece, you can back off a little bit. As I hold this piece, I'll twist both. So I'm turning this to the left as I'm twisting this to the right. That way it keeps it snug. We're just gonna walk this in. Shouldn't have any resistance. It's just going in. But if you don't stop and do this, it will just work its way loose. Kind of working, because you're working against yourself. You're turning 2 different directions. Just slowly work your way in.
Now, what would happen if you turned it the wrong way?
It would spin the other direction.
It would just come out?
Yeah, you would feel resistance. So there is 2 pieces to this. So there's this side, and there's one that turns the opposite way. So if you're in here and you feel like it's not working, I gotta get that off. If you feel like it's not spinning right, then you probably are using the opposite threaded one. Yeah. So now that that's done, I can spin this in and I can be done with that. So we're done there. Take our piece off. This is fully compressed. Doesn't mean that we're fully done. So what we want to do is make sure that this isn't up because of air in there. And generally what I'll do is I'll take a pick. Sometimes as you're compressing it, there's air trapped in there. And I'll just go around the edge and make sure that, yep, there we go. Did you hear that?
A little bit.
Heard a little bit of air come out. And you just do that so that it's not gonna mess up on you. So that worked good. That there is out of that. We can be good to go.
Grease.
We're gonna start now. Now, when I do this, I grease anything that contacts the pads. So I'm gonna grease these ears. And I'm gonna grease the piston face. So, that's done. You should be able to slide this on now that it's fully compressed. And then you see I have to push these pieces in to get it to go on. And that's it. So now we just gotta bolt that in. You'll notice we don't really have any binding. Everything feels good. This will seat flush once we're done, but as long as you don't feel anything wrong, it means you're not too tight. Kevin, if you wanna hand me, or I'll let you take over.
Right.
So Kevin's gonna go ahead and put those on. I looked up torque specs for that, Kevin, and I'm gonna have to adjust our torque wrench. I think it was like 26 foot-pounds. Now I've got to find my phone, which is always in itself a job, because we're not very organized. So it's 26 foot-pounds for the actual caliper. So I'm gonna get my snap-on torque wrench ready. And again, you guys let me know if you'd rather us do less information. It just seems silly that sometimes I fast forward and people are like, hey, you're fast forwarding so much that I don't know what you're doing, and I try to explain it the best I can. All right, Kevin, so here's your torque wrench. You're gonna need to adjust up to 26 foot-pounds. So you've got to slide this piece up, and while you're doing that, twist. You're gonna twist pretty much far left, because it's all the way maxed out right now.
Where does it say the foot-pounds at?
On the other side. So yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you.
It's a little tricky.
I don't think it's straight, man.
So.
You said 25?
26. And then you have to put your other socket on there. All right, what are you at?
25.
It'll only sit in the notches, so you'll know if you're dead on if it sits in there. Like, you got to go back some. Almost, a little more right there. At that lock. That should be 25. See how it's at 0 too? So if you want to do 26, you'd spin this till it says 1.
Oh, okay, neat.
Yeah. You can see we've got everything on here good. We've got it's new rotor on, caliper brackets clean, new hardware, greased up ears, compressed the caliper. We did torque to spec the caliper bracket. We did 75 foot-pounds, I think is what it called for. And then these are 25 foot-pounds for the caliper bolt itself. So we're gonna get that all tightened up. We'll use some brake cleaner and clean the wheel, and then work from there. Yeah, you're gonna have to go a little bit. And what you might see is that piece might spin on you. That should ratchet, doesn't it? Wait for the click. That's the click. You don't want to go too hard on these. They should, that's why we're doing, torque to spec. I wasn't raised to do that, but everybody does it now. And if you don't, you're a amateur. So at least that's what everybody says.
I don't know people that don't torque to spec. You know what happens? They break bolts.
You're clicking. Good. So we're all torque to spec. So next, let's get our brake cleaner. We'll spin this around a few times, make sure that we got everything clean. Right now our rotor is not seated flush, so we might have to push our backing plate back some in case we bumped it, which I think we did with the rotor, caliper. Yep, once the wheel's on there, we should be good. Yep. So that's okay right there behind the wheel, but...
Yeah, it's not touching anything, but it was bothering me, so...
Yeah. All right, guys, wheel time. We'll let Kevin put that on there. All right, guys, Kevin's getting our wheel back over here so we can get that put back on. We've got everything good. We did a couple spins to make sure it's all right. We're not going to show you the other side, but just know it's the exact same. I will go back and note, if you look at this piece of hardware here, this piece was just sitting, this bracket just sits up in there. I'm not really sure what its real purpose is. Yeah, I don't know if it's, again, just protecting the boot. That's a very strange bracket to have. I'm not even sure if we got it perfectly the way they want it to be, but I don't really see it doing any purpose other than just protecting that boot. And I would bet that there's some people that never put that back on, but we did put it back on, so it should be good. We took a look at our hardware back here and make sure everything was nice. And I suggest you do the same. Make sure you torque this down 25 foot-pounds, 75 foot-pounds. Make sure you don't put any tension on your lines, and then we'll get Kevin putting this wheel on. So guys, give us some feedback in the video or comments. Let us know how we did, if this was helpful for you at all. Of course, like, subscribe. It helps the channel out. Brakes are kind of boring to video, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that doesn't want to pay a bunch of money to a shop. I will tell you, I think in parts for this, I'm at $130, and that is for two Duralast Gold rotors and Duralast Gold brake pads. It's ceramic. I went with these. And then for rotors, it is the Duralast Gold as well. I will say I have a commercial account with them, so I do get them a bit cheaper than normal. But that doesn't change the fact that You just gotta make sure the bind. Just to change the fact that it's still way cheaper. My mom was quoted, God, almost $400 for this in a shop. And it's just, you know, I understand like people are gonna use shops, but I'm not gonna let my mom do that. Try to do what I can for her, especially if I get the parts cheaper. And just so we're aware, these are the same parts that Firestone quoted, and they wanted $110 per rotor, and I think I got them for $55.
Double.
So yeah, double the price, and they get the same commercial discount that I do, maybe even better. So it just shows you what they mark up the parts on. You know, and a lot of shops, if they're like more of a global or national, they're not gonna let you use your own parts because that's their bread and butter. Which again, I don't blame them. I mean, they got to pay their employees, they got overhead, but they're making money hand over fist on a brake job. That's gravy for them. It's gravy for me. I just don't charge a lot, and it's usually a pretty quick job. So we'll put this on the ground. We'll torque it to spec. I think I saw it was like 90 or 95 foot-pounds. So we're gonna put the impact on its lowest setting just to make sure it's all right, which isn't gonna give it much at all. And then on the ground, we'll check it once it's down there. But anyway, guys, hope this was helpful. Hold on, Kevin. Hold on. Hope it was helpful. Just be sure these are tight. We're gonna use the impact just to get it on the ground, and then we're gonna go back to the torque wrench. Is it on the low setting? Yeah,
yes.
See, that's our low setting. And we keep our air pretty low. So just as a reminder, we're not just ugga-dugging these things on there, because somebody is gonna have to come after me, or me, and take these off, and unless they have an impact like that can do 1,000 foot-pounds, they're gonna be sadly mistaken. So thanks, guys. Have a great day. Hope it helped, and yeah, have a good one.
Take care.